provide a quick-ish update on Tuesday projects, a few images and a little video. The first one here is gluing up a couple sections of 2x4. Those are roughly, I don't know, 8-10 inches long pieces, just two of them of real inexpensive 2x4 glued up so I could make a larger block. The next image is that same piece after it's dried, cut down. You can kind of see a little bit of quite a bit of the saw marks from the table saw along the edge of it. I ran the length of it on one pass, which was quite a bit to cut, and then the ends I cut on the sled and ended up doing two passes. So I'd make one pass a little over halfway way through the wood, and then flipped it over and matched up the edges there. So came out fairly clean. I like the look of it. And next image is just laying up the placement for the holes there, or the pockets. And ultimately, if you want to do this and keep those holes aligned, I'd probably try to make some form of jig to put on the drill press. So as you move the block from location to location, that drill bit stays equidistant from the edges. I laid this out with pencil and used a kind of a center punch to create a pilot for it. The drill bits did drift a little bit, so those pockets are not completely lined up, but that's okay. And then next image is the finalized project. That's essentially how I will use it at work, and finished it off with some min wax, paste wax, and this stuff being so porous took a lot of that wax up, but I was able to get a little bit of sheen or polish off of it. And the last image is the inspiration for this, the walnut colored one there, the walnut piece I should say, is from a guy named Mike Dudek. He runs Dudek Modern Goods, which is started off as kind of his hobby to make these pen holders, and I'm lucky enough to have one of those, so that kind of inspired me to use the same idea, to copy that idea for some small tools that I use. Next up was I didn't know what to start with, so this is some pallet wood that I claimed from the alley, and took that pallet apart, which took forever. It probably took me a good hour to get that thing apart, and I did not do a good job. I split quite a bit of the wood, plus the wood itself was fairly cracked up and warped. So these boards are not perfect for sure. I took the boards and hand planed them just to kind of flatten them out a little bit and get some practice at hand planing. Ultimately, they did not come out that well, but the planing does give the wood a little bit of character or a little bit of look to it, which I think comes off well in the pictures. In person, it still looks pretty rough. But I took those boards and cut them to length, around 20 inches or so in length, and I could get two 20-inch length out of each board of that pallet. And then took the edges down to an angle that served two purposes. It gave a little more uniform width to the pallet boards, and those angles are set so I could make roughly a round shape, kind of a barrel shape. So this is the almost finished project there. It looks slightly more round in the picture than it actually is, and I glued that up just with hot melt glue. That's the only thing holding it together. I had some ideas of maybe doing some form of steel band around it, or even gluing it up with wood glue, but the hot glue worked fine, and I was feeling pretty lazy by this point. And then I did create a bottom, traced the bottom shape, the 10-sided shape, onto a couple small pieces of that same pallet wood, and use those two pieces as the bottom. And the bottom rests a couple inches off the floor, just to make sure that at least the garbage bags I have now fit in there and don't kind of sink into the bottom of it. Ultimately, I should probably figure out some sort of lid for this thing, but that's the finished project, and it's definitely serving the purpose right now.